Hello and welcome to the edits of week 5's class. The homework this week was still lifes, and once again I got some fantastic homework submitted. So going through using Picasa again, I'm going to click on Joyce's photographs first of all. These are the order that I did them in class. So this I thought was a very interesting object that she did as still life. I love the reflection underneath. I'm not so sure about having all the negative space at the top though. I'm not sure that works. And there's also the issue of this white area where the background wasn't joining. So what I would do here is, I think first of all I'd do click on I'm feeling lucky to see, and what that's done is it's added some contrast to the image. It's made the darks a little darker and it's boosted the whites a little bit as well. The next thing I would do is crop the image. So we go for crop, and I'm going to select from the drop down list manual crop. So what I'm going to do is make the image a little bit smaller. I'm going to get rid of this area here and get rid of some of the area up at the top. So if we crop to about hit this point and pull down to about there, I think that is a much better image now. This one, I love the colours on, especially this little milk jug. I think this works really well as an image. Unfortunately, it's not straight. As you can see, the background, the line in the background isn't straight at all. So we need to straighten the image. We don't want to lose any of the, or hopefully we don't want to lose any of the reflection underneath. So we click on straighten, which is the second option here to fix a crooked photo. And we get this grid. Moving the slider here at the bottom, if we move it to the right, turn it one way, left goes the other way. So what we want to do is just straighten it so that the line in the background is parallel with the grid, and I think that's just about right now. So what we have is the background line parallel with the line of the grid. So we'll click on apply, and that's a much improved image now. I'm going to click on I'm feeling lucky. What this has done is it has boosted the colours, and it has lightened the image as well, and adjusted some of the colour balance issues. I'm going to add a little bit of light, a little bit of fill light, which is here, just to boost the image a little bit. And I think that looks absolutely superb now, so we'll leave that one. And finally, with Joyce's images, again I'm going to click on I'm feeling lucky. This one doesn't need to be straightened, it's pretty much straight. So I'm going to click on I'm feeling lucky, and we see a big difference there already. And again I'm going to add a little bit of fill light to it just to brighten the image. There we go, that's just about right now. Wonderful. You could argue that this is a little bit blue in the background, so you might want to go to the second tab and play around with the colour temperature and maybe increase the colour temperature. But unfortunately that's making the background a little bit greener, although these are a little bit warmer now. So I think we'll undo that tuning and leave it as it is. The reds are very nice in this image as it is. Okay. So moving on to Joe's images. Oops. Moving on to Joe's images. First of all, we have this pepper. I love the strength of the shadow in this pepper. I think this could have been made to have been more of part of the image. If the positioning of the camera had been more at the pepper level, so it was straight onto the image rather than looking down on the image, and then moved to one side, we could probably have got the whole of the shadow of the pepper in against the background. Unfortunately, it's slightly out of focus as well. So I'm not going to do anything with that image. Although there may be a temptation, if it was sharper, to have cropped this image. I do like the humorous effect of the egg here. The shadow is really good, and we've got a fantastic reflection as well. But unfortunately, there is a line going through it, which I presume is the edge of the glass. So what we're going to do is, all we're going to do to this image is just crop it. Let's crop it a little bit lower than the top. And I'm going to try and get in all the shadow of the egg and get rid of the line. There's still another line, which is something underneath the glass, but that's not quite so dramatic. Although I didn't do this in class, I am tempted, because this is such an orange image, to see if black and white would work with this image. Maybe not. Maybe sepia? Unsure about this. That will be down to individual preference at the end of the day. Sadly, this particular hen is completely out, well, not completely out of focus, but it is out of focus. It's very, very soft. But the next one, again out of focus, but it's got a little bit of added interest with this egg. One of the things you should always try to do is, if you've got a face of any description in the image, have it facing into negative space and not have negative space behind the subject. So what I would do here is just simply crop the image. Again, the first tab, click on crop. We'll just pull that down to about there. Actually, I think we'll pull the top down a little bit to make it a little bit tighter as well. Yeah, I think that works much better as an image. If it was in focus, it would be fabulous. Okay, moving on to Lawrence's images. One of the things excuse me, one of the things we discussed in class was that the fact that this wasn't straight. Now this is because of again, from the angle that the image was taken at. If it had been more down on a level with the vase rather than looking down, it would have been, the vase would have been straighter. What I do really like is the shadow that's been created and the refraction of light. I think this all works very well. You could try straightening the image to try and get the vase straight, but then you've got the line in the background becomes crooked, so it doesn't really work. I would be tempted with this to I think I've already done an I'm feeling lucky on this, yes. If I clicked on I'm feeling lucky, it makes the background a whiter image and also brings out the colours of the petals. It would be useful to boost the colour of the petals. So what we're going to do is click on the third tab along and saturation. What that has done is it's just boosted the colours in these petals. And that's fabulous now. Again, if it was straight, it would be an absolutely perfect image. What I do like is the way that the flower isn't overlapping the shadow, and the shadow in the background is really strong as well from the rose. Oops, apply changes. So this hourglass, or this egg timer, again, really like this image. I like the refraction of light and liking the shadow and the placement of the shadow in the image. I wouldn't worry too much about these reflections of light. You're going to get them because it's a glass surface, just the nature of what you're taking a photograph of. And I don't think it's much of a distraction because they are quite small. Moving on to the next one. Again, I love this image and I loved the story behind it as well. The one thing I would suggest with this is that there is too much space at the top and the bottom, and that a letterbox crop would work very well with this. So if we choose the crop and pull across, something like that. That is concentrating the view much more on the subject. And this long type of crop is called a letterbox crop because it basically looks like a letterbox. With Donna's images, I love this VW camper van, the money box. I think I would have had if I was shooting it, I would have shot it the other way, in that the front of the camper van would be over this end, so you're getting light on it. Having said that, I think it needs to be boosted a little bit, so we'll click on I'm Feeling Lucky. So the blues have increased and the whites have increased a little bit. And then I'm going to click on, I'm just going to drag the fill light across, just to lift it a little bit more. I think that looks much better now. I'm also liking the idea of the cling film which has been placed underneath. These were a little bit dark, these pine cones, and also there was a bit of an issue with the angle that they were taken at. So we're going to start by straightening the image. So click on straighten. And again, what we're going to do is get the background line straight along this line of the grid, which it now is. Click on apply. I'm going to add some fill light to the image. As you can see, the pine cones have increased quite dramatically. You can see more detail on them now. And finally, I'm going to crop it because there's a lot of space here on the left and less space on the right. So I want to have the same amount of space on either side. Click on crop. I think it's going to be about here. There. And again, I like the reflection that we've got from the pine cones as well. Okay, the bulldog, again, love this image. I'm going to click on I'm Feeling Lucky, which has boosted everything a little bit, and I'm going to add a little bit of fill light to it because we want to see a bit more of what's going on here. Again, I think there's a little bit too much space over on the left hand side, especially with this gap here. So cropping the image to about there will make the picture a lot stronger. And I think that's really good now. Okay, so I wasn't going to touch the flower image, but moving on to Syra's images, getting through these quite quickly. Again, I click on I'm Feeling Lucky. It looks a little bit flat. So click on I'm Feeling Lucky. So I actually turned it, what looks like it's turned it into a black and white image. I'm going to add a little bit of fill light, just so we can see some more detail there. Just increase the size of the image. So if I, this is, let's go back. So this is how it was originally. This is what it looks like with I'm Feeling Lucky. And just a little bit of fill light. Let's pull up the detail around this area. A little bit of detail around there as well. This was a really interesting image. It needs a little bit of work doing to it, and in class one of the students mentioned that inverting it might work quite nicely. So first thing I'm going to do is crop it. This little bit of white in the top left hand corner is annoying me, and also there is more space over on the left than there is on the right hand side. There's more space on the right than there is on the left hand side, so I want to even that out. So clicking crop, very carefully, just want to make sure we're right on the edge there. We pull down. I think that's going to be about it. There we go. That's nicely cropped now. And that little bit of white up in the top left hand corner is no longer an annoyance. The shadow areas are a little bit too shadowy, so I'm going to click on I'm Feeling Lucky. And that's made a big difference to the background. Well, we've still got some shadow here, so I'm going to add a little bit of fill light. There. Now, I think that is a much more appealing image. there wasn't much colour in there anyway, so changing to black and white, so having it as a black and white image is going to be the best thing. One of the suggestions in class was to invert it. Inversion is where we make a negative out of a positive image. So all the blacks become white, all the whites become black, and all the greys sort of swap the intensity of grey. So light grey becomes dark grey becomes light grey. To invert the image, we click on the fourth tab along, which is More Fun and Useful Image Processing. And on the third row, the middle option is Invert Colours, which is make your photo look like a negative. So if we click on that, that has made quite a dramatic impact to the image. I think what this also now needs is a little more fill light. Yeah, I'm wondering if that's a little bit too dark and whether we should have a little bit more fill light. Again, this would be down to personal preference at the end of the day. Syra's photo of the tree I thought was absolutely superb. I hadn't noticed at the time, but there is a little bit of a shadow here. So what I'm going to do is crop it slightly, just to get rid of this shadow area. It's a shame the top of the tree has been cut off. And again, I think what we're going to do here is, I love the colours in this. It almost looks like it's shot on film. So what we're going to do is choose the third tab along and something a little bit different. No, I'm not going to show it close, the fourth one along. And I'm going to choose cross process. What this has done is it's enhanced the yellows. It's changed the yellow background. The green is a little bit greener. What cross processing is where you would develop films in different chemicals. So slide film would be developed in print chemicals, or print film would be developed in slide chemicals. And what you get is a shift in the colours, and that's what we've got here. You could always, if you felt that this was too strong, you could always fade it a little bit. This is how it was originally. This is how it is with the maximum intensity. I quite like it with that intensity. So I'll click on apply. But again, it's going to be down to the individual person and their individual taste. Okay, Daniel. There was nothing I was going to suggest in class. I'll start again. There was nothing I suggested in class as changes to Daniel's photographs. But having got home, I've noticed there's some shadow areas up in the top right and left hand corners. So what it might be worth doing is actually cropping this slightly. So we're going to do a manual crop on this from about here. Maybe over slightly. And now we don't have much of a shadow in those top corners. And I think that's a much stronger image. I really do like this. This is quite ingenious the way it's been taken, and this shadow created from it. Okay, so that's Daniel's images, and finally Camille's images. Oops, Camille's images. I really like this candle. It's different seeing the actual label on the candle. Normally you would see them without, so it's creating some shadow interest and shadow detail there. This just came across as being a bit flat, and I was also wondering about the colours in the background. In class we did try to mess around with the colour balance, but that didn't work in terms of trying to make it warmer. It just came up with a greener effect. So if I try doing that again now, and to move it to the right, it's a sort of yellowy greeny blue, and it's just not working at all. However, what we did do was move the colour temperature to the left, and it made the background a lot bluer. I'm also liking the refraction of light that we've got in the background here. One of the downsides of this now is that this is still not quite bright enough, so I was thinking maybe a little bit of fill light to boost the colours, and also
going to go and look at the saturation, which is on the third tab along, and just click on the saturation button, third row down, which will increase the saturation by default. And I think that's much better. The blues are really nice in the background. The blues, reds and yellow or golds inside the glass are really strong as well. I think that's a cracking image now. So we'll apply that. The elephants, again, I really like this. When we were in class, I didn't really suggest much to do with this. But now I'm looking at it at home, I think we need to crop it slightly because there's a bit more space on this side, on the right hand side, than there is on the left. So if we crop it first of all, just so that the space is even. There we go. And the only other thing I would suggest is there's lots of detail on these elephants here. Just increasing the fill light a little bit is really, you can now see much more of what's going on the elephants. And if I just undo that and then redo it, you can see how much more you can see in the image as a result. Okay. Finally, we have the vanitas, because of the skull in the background, which again I didn't notice in class. I would be tempted with this to, and again in class we didn't do anything with it, but I'd be tempted to click on I'm feeling lucky and maybe increase the fill light a little bit. I just felt this, now looking at it on my laptop, that it was a bit flat, so it just needed boosting a little bit. And I think that's made a big difference. So there we go, that was all the homework and all the edits that I was going to suggest. I thought you did all did really well. I really enjoyed looking at the work again. Now this is the image I took in class. Unfortunately, there's lots of pink in the image. This is a result of the pink walls in Fallowfield Library, in the room we use, and the light bouncing around. I'm also not so sure about having this area here, and there's also a bit of shadow. So what I'm going to do is crop my image, but the crop I'm going to select is square CD cover, because I actually shot it as a square image. I'm also going to try and get rid of a little bit of the space down here in the bottom left hand corner. So if we crop to about here and pull down, I think I think that's about right. Okay, we've still got some of the pink though. So what I'm going to do is increase the, I'm going to first of all go to some black and white and see what happens there. Unfortunately, it looks a little bit flat. So I'm going to undo the black and white. And what I'm going to do instead is choose something a little bit different, which is the infrared film. Infrared is just changing everything to being on the infrared spectrum. And you can change the intensity of this, so you can almost have like a colour popping effect where certain colours come through. I do like the yellow having turned to a very bright white though. That's worked very nicely. So I'm going to leave that. Oops, apply the changes. Go back into it again, and this time I'm going to I'm feeling lucky. Has made no difference whatsoever. So what I'm going to do is go into the second tab and add some shadow detail to bring out the blacks a little bit. There we go. I think that's about what we're going to do. So that's now my finished image. So that's it. That's the editing for week 5, still life. And this was an example of the lay flat, which is the homework for this week. Again, think about lines, think about triangles, think about the story that you're trying to portray. Here the story is about my writing. I'm working on things to do with memory at the moment, and also things which are of interest to me. This is my little 35mm Olympus trip camera, some film, and also an iPod to listen to some music. Again, triangles, lines, all very important in an image, and I shall leave it at that. I hope you've enjoyed watching this, and I look forward to hearing any comments or anything you've got to say on this. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.